Our application is coming along pretty darn well. We've got our index page put together. We've got the ability to create streams, edit streams, and now we're going to start to move on to one of the last big pages of our application, the delete stream page. When a user comes to this page, we're going to show what is called a modal to them. This is a modal window. A modal window essentially prompts a user to take some action. I can very quickly show you an example modal. If I open up the diagram program that I'm using right now at draw.io, I'll see a big window appear here right on the center of the screen. So this is a modal window in action. It's prompting me to take some immediate action, and there's really nothing else I can do on the screen until I resolve this. I can still see some of the content of the page kind of faded out behind it, but I can't directly interact with it until I do something with the modal window. So that's what we're going to show for our delete stream page. I want to show a modal window to the user that's going to essentially force them to either delete a stream or not delete the stream. So in this video, we're going to start talking about how we can create modal windows with React. You might be surprised to hear that creating modals with React is surprisingly challenging. So I'm going to walk you through an example of exactly why modals are challenging and why they're challenging specifically with React. So let's get to it. Okay, so this first diagram right here is a diagram of a typical React application, the component hierarchy. At the very top of any HTML document, we have the body tag. Inside the body, we usually have a div with an ID of root, and we render our entire React application into that div with ID of root. So inside that div, we've got a provider, we've got the app, any routes, maybe our stream delete component that we're going to create in just a little bit, maybe a modal component, and then maybe some button inside of that a user can click to either delete or not delete the stream. What I'm trying to communicate here with this diagram is that in a React application, all of our elements are nested inside of that div with ID of root. And that is the normal operation of React. However, there is a feature inside of React called portals. And we're going to ultimately use a portal to kind of get around this requirement of having to nest all of our different components, elements, whatever you want to call it, inside of this div with ID of root. But before I just tell you, hey, here's how a portal works, you need to really understand why we would even want to use a portal in the first place. So, understanding this right here, understanding how all of our elements get ultimately rendered into this single div, I now want to show you how we usually create a modal window without React at all. Without React, without JavaScript, without anything like that. And you're going to very quickly realize that if we use traditional React layouts, like what you see right here, putting together that modal will be rather challenging. Okay, so here's a little exercise that you and I are going to go through. We're going to forget React, we're going to forget JavaScript, we're going to make a normal HTML document, and we're going to try to get a little modal window to show up inside of it. And as we go through that process, like I said, you're going to realize that using typical React to do this might be a little bit challenging. So for this little side application we're going to put together with plain HTML, I want to have a window that shows I'm a sidebar and I am some content in the center of the screen as well. And then we can optionally put a modal on the screen. And when this modal appears, it's not kind of obscure or it's not replacing that content. The other content is still visible behind it, but the modal is meant to kind of sit on top of that stuff and demand some attention from the user. So again, I want to put this example together with normal HTML, normal CSS, and you're going to very quickly realize that putting these modals together, not the easiest thing. All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to flip back over to my code editor. So I'm still inside of my project directory here. To get a normal HTML document put together, I'm going to open up my public directory and create a new file called modal.html. So we're going to write up our entire modal example inside this HTML document with normal CSS and normal HTML. Inside of here, I'm going to put down a head tag and a body tag. And inside of the body tag, I'm just going to put some plain text for right now that says, I am a modal example. And then I'm going to try to access this HTML document inside my browser. So in order to access any file inside of our public directory, we're just going to go to localhost 3000 / then the file name. So in this case, modal HTML. So I'm going to open up a new browser tab and navigate to localhost 3000 / modal.html, like so. And I should see the text from that HTML document appear on the screen. All right, so now that we've got that showing up, Let's try putting together the root of this example, so that sidebar element and some content on the very center of the screen. So inside my body, I'm going to place a div with a class. Don't forget, we are now writing HTML, not writing JSX right now. So in order to specify a CSS class, we just write out class, not class name. So I'll say class sidebar, and I'll give it some content. I am a sidebar. After that, I'll place another div with a class of content. And inside of that one, I'll put a h1 that says I am some content. And now if I save this again, I should be able to flip back over to my browser, refresh the page because we don't get automatic reload with just plain HTML documents. And then we'll see I'm a sidebar and I am some content. Now let's very quickly add in some CSS just to get these elements into the correct position. Inside my head tag, I'm going to add on a style tag, and we'll just write some CSS directly into here. So first off, I'm going to attempt to position that sidebar on the left-hand side of my screen. So I'm going to put in a sidebar CSS selector right here. I'm going to give it a position of fixed, a top of 0, a left of 0, a height of 100 VH, which is just going to make it span the entire height of the screen, a width of 300 pixels, and then I'll give it a background color of green, just to make sure that we can really tell where the sidebar starts and ends. After that rule, I'll then add in a CSS selector for content as well. So I'll say .content, and I will give this a width, or excuse me, a margin dash left of 300 pixels. The margin left right here is just to make sure that the sidebar does not overwrite or obscure any of our content. So now I'll save this very quickly, flip back over, and I see my sidebar with I am some content. And just recall, I always run with my browser very far zoomed in, so you probably see something like this right here. Okay, so this looks good. It's a good place to get started. So let's take a quick pause right here. When we come back in the next section, we're going to start putting this modal together. And again, that's when you're going to start to learn why we want to use this portals thing with React at all.